I stood at the bedroom door, gripping a bouquet of deep red roses so tightly that the thorns dug into my skin and drew blood. In my jacket pocket was the apology letter I'd spent all night writing, now crumpled and damp with sweat. I was going to open the door, pull her into my arms and say, "I'm sorry. Please, give me one more chance." But then, I heard her voice from inside. "I wish he'd just disappear from my life. I'm so tired of pretending to love a failure." I froze. The woman who once promised to stay with me, no matter what, was saying this to someone else. Her laughter echoed out, light and sweet, like a blade twisting in my chest. I had given everything to make her happy, stayed up late working myself to exhaustion, skipped meals, tightened my belt, just to buy her the house she dreamed of. But in the end, I was the burden she was tired of carrying. That night, I didn't knock. I didn't step inside. I didn't ask her, "Who is he?" I set the flowers down, walked out of the house, and vanished. Vanished from this city. Vanished from her world. No texts. No goodbyes. Not a single trace of me left behind. 5 years later, on a stormy morning, I heard frantic knocks on my door. When I opened it, there she was, kneeling on my porch. Hair a mess, eyes swollen from crying. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "Please, don't leave me. Not again. I'm begging you." I stood there, staring at the woman who once cursed me to disappear, now begging me to stay. And in that moment, I knew I had to make a choice that would change the rest of our lives. My name is Ryan. I'm 33, a construction engineer. I was born and raised in a small town in South Texas, the kind of place where summers were so hot the ground cracked open, and winters sent cold winds whistling through broken window panes. I never owned more than one pair of shoes at a time, and I always had to wait until the end of the month before I dared to buy myself anything. As a kid, I once swore, "One day, I'll make enough money so no one can ever look down on Mom and me again." When I grew up, I thought I'd made it, at least a little. I worked hard, climbed my way up to a site supervisor. I could finally buy an old pickup truck and even finance my first little apartment. But the moment I truly felt lucky was when I met Emma. Emma wasn't like any other girl I'd ever known. She had soft golden curls and amber eyes that lit up whenever she talked about her big dreams. She came from a better-off family than mine, but she never made me feel small. If anything, she said she was drawn to my calm nature and to my sunburnt, calloused hands. Hands she used to tease as the kind that know how to protect. I loved Emma with everything I had. Even when my bank account barely had a few $100, I bought her a tiny silver ring, dropped to one knee in the middle of a park, and said, "I don't have much, just this heart. Will you take it?" Emma smiled, nodded, and we got married in the simplest way possible. Just a few close friends and both our families. In the early years of our marriage, I honestly thought I was the happiest man alive. Even though my paycheck wasn't big, I worked 10 to 12 hours a day to pay off the house Emma loved. Every evening, I'd swing by the corner store, grab a small bouquet, and leave it on the kitchen table with a note. "I love you. Don't forget to rest." But those flowers, they started wilting before Emma even saw them. She got busier with her new job. The promotion to project manager meant she came home later and later. Work texts at 2 a.m. became the norm. One time, I got off early and brought her favorite Chinese takeout. The house was unusually quiet. When I stepped into the kitchen, the table was neatly cleared. 2 wine glasses still showing streaks of red, and a dinner for 2 sitting cold. When I turned around, Emma was there, dish towel in hand, her eyes avoiding mine. "Who did you have dinner with?" I asked, my voice trembling. She gripped the towel so hard her knuckles turned white. "Don't ask. I'm tired." She brushed past me, headed upstairs, and shut the door. I stood there for a long time, staring at those 2 wine glasses, like they might tell me what had happened. But all they did was reflect my own face. Worn out, washed out, and pitifully small. I told myself, it's just work. She'd never betray me, right? But deep down, another voice whispered, "Ryan, you already know the truth." I used to think that if I just tried harder, we'd be okay. But looking back now, maybe that night was when our marriage really began to end. After that night, seeing the 2 half-empty wine glasses on the table, I sank into a quiet unease I didn't even want to admit to myself. I kept pretending everything was fine. I still brought home flowers every Friday night. Still asked Emma about her day. Still made her coffee every morning out of habit. But Emma, she didn't seem to notice anymore. The bouquets were left carelessly on the table, wilting before she even looked at them. The coffee I made? She'd take a small sip, then leave the rest untouched. One time, I took a day off work and stood in line to buy 2 tickets for a movie Emma once mentioned. When I was little, I used to watch this with Dad. It's such a good one. That night, I handed her the tickets, grinning like a kid. I got the tickets. You said you loved this movie, right? Emma glanced at me, her eyes tired and distant. Why don't you take one of your friends? I don't have time for silly stuff like this. Something in my chest tightened. I forced a smile, shoved the tickets into my jacket pocket. When she went upstairs, I stayed in the dark, sitting alone on the couch, crushing those tickets in my fist. That night, I couldn't sleep. Around 2 a.m., I reached for her on the bed, but my hand only found cold, empty sheets. I went downstairs. The living room light was still on. Emma was asleep on the sofa, her hair falling over half her face. Her phone was lying beside her, screen lighting up with a new message. I miss you. I froze. I wanted to believe it was just a coworker, a friend. But deep down, I knew I was lying to myself. The next morning, after Emma left early, I picked up her phone. It asked for a passcode. We never used to lock our phones. I set it back down, my hands trembling. What are you doing, Ryan? You're not this kind of man. I hated myself. Hated this helpless, suspicious, fearful version of me. One evening, Emma texted saying she had to meet with a client and might be late. I cooked a simple dinner, turned on the porch light, and waited. I waited until midnight. The food went cold on the table. When headlights finally swept across the window, my heart pounded. Emma walked in, carrying that same sweet perfume. Sorry, my boss kept me late signing contracts. Did you eat yet? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Yeah. I'm exhausted. Let's talk tomorrow, okay? She went straight upstairs. I quietly cleared the table, scraped the cold dinner into the trash, and watched it slide down the drain. That night, I sat in my truck outside, a wilted bouquet lying on the passenger seat. I kept staring at the dark window of our bedroom. Not a single light, not a single shadow. I used to think that if I just loved harder, held on longer, everything would be okay. But I was wrong. And that night, standing outside the bedroom door, I heard the words that ripped my heart apart. That night, I stood frozen outside the bedroom door. The house was so quiet, I could hear my own heart pounding wildly, like it was about to shatter into pieces. Through the gap in the door, I heard Emma's voice, soft, almost a whisper, speaking to someone on the phone. I didn't dare breathe, afraid even the smallest sound would bring my whole world crashing down. Don't text this number anymore. He's back. I can't talk long. There was a pause. Then her trembling voice. I miss you too. But please don't push me. I can't leave him right now. I went numb. Her words echoed in my head like a dull knife, cutting into my heart over and over. I miss you too. My whole body went cold. My hands clenched so tightly my nails dug into my palms. I stepped back, moving as if the floor might give way beneath me. The wilted bouquet slipped from my fingers, its crimson petals scattering across the cold wooden floor. I didn't knock. Didn't ask? Who is he? I turned and walked away, forcing my shaking legs not to collapse beneath me. I drove aimlessly through the night. Streetlights blurred through the tears I could no longer hold back. Pulling into an empty parking lot off the highway, I killed the engine and sat there, both hands gripping the steering wheel like it was the only thing keeping me from falling apart. You failed, Ryan. You gave her your whole heart. You swallowed your pride. You gave up pieces of yourself for her. And still, she chose someone else. I broke down. Hot tears streamed down my face and fell onto my trembling hands. I had never felt so small. My phone buzzed. A text. It was Emma. Where are you? Come home. It's late. I let out a bitter laugh. It's late, I whispered, unsure if I meant the time or our marriage. I didn't go home right away. Instead, I drove to the construction site, searching for some peace in the roar of machinery. But my chest kept tightening, each heartbeat reminding me of the pain from the night before. Ryan, are you okay? You look pale, a coworker asked, patting my shoulder. I nodded, forcing a faint smile. But inside, I was crumbling. That evening, when I finally walked through the front door, Emma was sitting on the couch, her phone in hand. She jumped when she saw me. Where have you been all night? I was worried sick. Her voice was hoarse, but her eyes were restless. I looked at Emma for a long time, searching for a trace of guilt. But all I saw was unease. "Tell me the truth. Who is he?" I asked, my voice so low and steady I almost didn't recognize it. Emma froze. Her lips pressed tight. Her face caught in a fleeting struggle before it melted into a faint, hollow smile. "You're imagining things again. There's no one else." "I heard you, Emma. Don't make me repeat the words you said last night." Her face went pale. The phone slipped from her hands, landing on the floor with a dull thud. "Fine, it's Mark. He's a business partner. We met up a few times, and things happened." My heart twisted in my chest. "How long?" I asked, my voice raw. 6 months. I got up and walked to the window. The porch light cast a dull yellow glow across the room, making everything feel heavier. "Why?" I asked, staring into the darkness outside. "Did I do something wrong, Emma?" She stayed silent. Then, after a long pause, her voice broke, quiet but cold. "You didn't do anything wrong. You're too good. But maybe that's the problem. You've been so good to me, and yet I feel like I'm dying in this marriage. You did everything, except make me feel alive." I closed my eyes, feeling like someone had just swung a sledgehammer into my chest. Emma turned away, a single tear rolling down her cheek. "You deserve someone better than me. Tomorrow, I'll move out." I stood there, in the house I once called a home, listening to my heart splinter into pieces. The woman I loved more than anything was gone. But the pain stayed. And tomorrow, when I wake up, I know I won't be the same man anymore. That night, after Emma said she would leave, I didn't say a word. I just stood there, watching her walk up the stairs, step by step, her suitcase wheels clattering softly against the wooden steps. The bedroom door clicked shut, so quiet I could barely hear it. But in my chest, it slammed like the end of an entire chapter of my life. I sank to the floor, leaning against the wall. The living room that had once felt warm and familiar now felt empty, cold, like a stranger's house I'd stumbled into. The porch light cast long shadows across the floor, stretching my figure out like I didn't belong here anymore. I reached for the wedding photo on the shelf. In it, Emma and I were smiling wide, eyes filled with trust, with belief in a future we thought would last. "What did we promise each other, Emma?" I asked in a hoarse whisper. But the picture stayed silent. The only answer was the sound of my own tears falling on the glass. I stayed like that all night. No lights, no food, no sleep. When the first rays of dawn slipped through the curtains, Emma was gone. On the dining table, next to her cold, lifeless wedding ring, was a folded piece of paper. "I'm sorry. Goodbye." I picked it up and read those 5 words over and over until the letters blurred through my tears. That cold apology hurt more than any curse could have. Then my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Thank you for letting her go gently. I hope you understand. Emma deserves to be happy." I stared at the screen, my hand gripping the phone so tightly it started to shake. "Happy? You think I didn't try?" I let out a bitter laugh. It echoed through the empty house, dry and hollow. I stepped outside. The night air cut through my jacket like a blade. The city lights still glimmered, streets still alive, like nothing had happened, like no one had just lost their whole damn world. I drove with no destination. Road signs blurred past like fragments of memories with Emma. Her laugh, that first night we cooked together. The way her hand tightened around mine as she whispered, "You're my home." And those cold eyes as she said, "You don't make me feel alive anymore." I pulled over on a bridge, leading out of the city. Watching the traffic below, I felt like a ghost, adrift, invisible, with nowhere left to belong. If I disappeared, would anyone even notice? Maybe the world would be lighter without me. I gripped the steering wheel, eyes shut tight. Part of me wanted to end it all right there. But then, my mother's face flashed in my mind. The woman who worked 2 jobs just to raise me. "Never let a woman define your worth, Ryan," I could almost hear her say. Her voice pulled me back from the edge. I took a deep breath. She doesn't love me anymore. But that doesn't mean I'm unworthy of love. For the first time in days, my hands unclenched. I turned the wheel, heading in the opposite direction, away from the city, away from her, without looking back. I found a cheap motel in a small coastal town. The room was barely big enough for a bed and an old desk. But here, at least no one knew my name. I switched off my phone, deleted my social media. Cut off all contact with friends. I disappeared. That first night in the tiny room, I lay staring at the ceiling, hollow inside. The woman who was once my entire world is gone, but the pain stayed behind. I wonder, is there still something out there worth living for? And I don't know if someday I'll ever have the strength to love again. The screen fades to black. The silence lingers, heavy and suffocating. I disappeared from the world I once belonged to. No phone, no social media, no friends, no coworkers. Just me, and a cheap motel room in a quiet coastal town where nobody knew my name. Every morning, I woke up as the sun crept over the horizon. Faint light slipped through the old, tattered curtains, painting the room in a dull silver gray. I started working at a small woodworking shop nearby, a job of heavy lifting and calloused hands. It was hard, physical work, but at least it reminded me I was still here. On my first day, the shop owner asked, "Ever done this kind of work before?" I nodded, hiding the hands that once only held blueprints, not hammers and nails. Calluses began to form. My skin tanned, my muscles tightened. But the ache in my chest, it stayed exactly the same. On my 10th night in that motel room, I broke down like a child. I realized I couldn't even remember the sound of my own laughter anymore. Every night, I dreamed of Emma. In those dreams, she came back. She wrapped her arms around me and whispered, "I'm sorry. You're the only man I've ever loved." But when I reached for her, she suddenly turned and walked away. I screamed her name, but my voice caught in my throat. She kept moving further and further, until she faded into nothing. I jolted awake, drenched in sweat, my heart racing, my chest heavy like something was pressing down on it. How much longer, Ryan? How much longer until you finally break free from her shadow? One afternoon, while hauling lumber into the shop, I heard a soft voice behind me. "Could you help me with this?" I turned around. She was about 30, with shoulder-length brown hair and deep, gentle eyes. Her voice was calm. She stood in front of the furniture repair shop next to ours, struggling to lift a heavy old table. "This thing's too heavy. I can't move it on my own." I gave a small nod and helped her carry it inside. "Thank you. I'm Lily. I just moved here," she said with a faint smile. I only managed a forced smile back, avoiding her eyes. That night, for the first time in months, I caught myself thinking about a woman other than Emma. And then the guilt came crashing in. Who the hell do you think you are, Ryan? You can't even let go of the past. And now this? I pulled the blanket over my head, trying to chase the thoughts away. The next day at the shop, I saw Lily again, talking to the owner. When she turned toward me, our eyes met. She smiled. I quickly looked down, my hands tightening until the veins stood out. I'm not ready for this. Or maybe I'll never be ready. Since that day, Lily started showing up in my life more than I wanted to admit. Every time I came to the shop, I'd see her hunched over an old table, polishing, arranging things in her little store. Sometimes, she'd nod and greet me, her eyes carrying a strange warmth I hadn't felt in a long time. One day, it poured. I was hauling wood when I slipped and fell. My arm scraped hard against the ground, blood trickling down. Lily rushed over, her thin jacket soaked through. Are you okay? Let me take a look at that. Before I could refuse, she was already kneeling, wrapping a handkerchief around my wound. I couldn't even remember the last time someone cared for me like that. My heart stirred, a feeling I hadn't known in so long. It was warm and terrifying. That night, I sat in my motel room, my fingers running over the handkerchief Lily had left behind. Ryan, what are you doing? You haven't even let go of Emma. How dare you let someone else in? The next day, Lily stopped by the shop. I baked a little something. Would you like to try? I hesitated, but then fear surged through me. Don't waste your time on a broken man like me, I said sharply, avoiding her eyes. Lily froze. The smile on her lips faded. Sometimes people give, not because the other person deserves it, but because they don't want to feel empty themselves. Her words clenched something deep in my chest, but I still turned away, hiding my confusion behind a cold mask. That evening, as I walked back to my room, I saw Lily standing alone by the shoreline. She stared out at the sea, her shoulders trembling as if holding back something heavy. Is she hurting too? I wanted to step closer, but then I stopped. A voice echoed in my head. Don't. If you let someone in again, you'll end up shattered all over. I pulled the blanket over myself, trying to drift off. But Lily's face kept flashing in my mind. Her gentle smile, those deep, sad eyes. Maybe we're alike in ways that are almost scary. That night, I stared at the ceiling. If I keep hiding in the dark, will I ever really live again? The next morning, Lily handed back the handkerchief. When her fingers brushed mine, my heart pounded wildly. She smiled faintly, her eyes still holding that quiet sadness. "Are you ready to start again?" she asked softly. I stood there, frozen. Part of me wanted to nod, but another part screamed inside. Don't open up just to be broken again. I don't know if this heart has room for anyone else, but if I don't try, maybe I'll stay trapped in the past forever. I avoided Lily for days after that. Every time I saw her standing outside the woodshop, eyes holding a quiet kind of hope, I lowered my head and walked faster. I was scared. Scared that with just one look, the walls I'd spent so long building would come crashing down. But that night, everything changed. I was lying awake in my dark motel room, staring at the ceiling, when I heard a knock at the door. At first, I thought I imagined it. But then it came again, soft, hesitant, like a quiet plea for help. I opened the door. It was Lily. She stood there, eyes red and swollen, hair tousled from the cold night wind. "I'm sorry, but I didn't know who else to turn to," she said, her voice trembling. We sat in the dim room, silence thick between us. Lily clutched a steaming mug of tea, her gaze fixed on the floor, like she was afraid to face the truth. "You once said you're broken," she whispered with a sad little smile. "Then maybe we're the same." She began to tell her story. She'd been married once. Her husband, a successful, charming man, had left her for a younger woman. I begged him to stay, pleaded with everything I had, but he just said one thing: "You're a good woman, but you don't make me feel alive anymore." Her words cut through me like a blade. That was the same thing Emma once said to me. That day, when he walked out, I thought I had died, Lily choked out. Until I saw their photo on social media. Him and her. Emma, right? I froze. Emma? She's the one who destroyed Lily's life too? I shot to my feet, my voice breaking. No, I can't. I can't go through this again. I'm terrified of losing everything one more time. Hot tears spilled down my cheeks. For the first time in months, I couldn't keep up the facade. Lily said nothing. She just sat there, and then reached over to squeeze my hand. "Maybe we're both shattered pieces," she said softly. "But if we bring two broken halves together, maybe, just maybe, we can fill the emptiness." I looked into her eyes. In them, I saw myself, alone, wrecked, but still quietly longing for love. Suddenly, a phone rang, cutting through the moment like a blade. Lily flinched. The screen lit up with a name. Mark. My heart sank. Mark, Lily's ex-husband? Am I just another placeholder in her story? The screen dimmed, leaving only silence between us. The phone rang, its sharp sound slicing through the silence of the room. Lily flinched. The screen lit up with a name. Mark. I froze. My heart pounded, each beat sending a familiar ache through my chest, like an old wound being ripped open again. Mark? She's still in contact with him? Am I just another placeholder in her story? I stepped back, my voice hoarse. Lily, are you still talking to him? I can't do this. I can't be the one patching up your broken pieces, only to be left behind when you're ready to run back to him. A storm of anger and despair surged through me, swallowing me whole. I don't want to open my heart. I'm terrified of losing everything again, I shouted, my voice cracking, breaking apart. Hot tears blurred my vision. My fists clenched so tight, blood pricked at my palms. Lily stood still, her eyes red, her voice trembling but steady. You think I came here to find a replacement? Mark left me a long time ago. He's calling now only to say things I don't want to hear anymore. Ryan, I'm just like you. I'm only searching for a reason not to disappear. I froze. Images of Emma flashed through my mind. Our sweet kiss on our wedding day. The sound of her footsteps dragging a suitcase out the door. Her cold message. You deserve someone better than me. I sank to the floor, burying my face in my hands. Will you let the past control you forever, Ryan? Or will you give yourself one chance to live again? I looked up at Lily, the woman standing there, as shattered as I was. I can't promise I'm whole, but if you're willing, maybe we can try to piece these broken parts back together. Lily stepped closer, gently taking my hand. This time, I didn't pull away. We held each other tightly, like two drowning souls clinging to each other, desperate not to sink. Maybe Emma was right. I am good. And because I'm good, I deserve to be loved again. Then, a knock on the door. We both flinched. A deep, cold voice came from outside. "Ryan, I know you're in there with her. We need to talk. Man to man." I froze. It was Mark. What happens when I finally face the man who stole Emma and broke Lily's heart too? The knock came again. A third time. Heavier. Firmer. Lily and I exchanged a glance, our hearts tightening like a vice. A deep, cold voice slipped through the cracks of the door. "Ryan, I know you're in there. We need to talk. Man to man." I stood frozen, my hands clenching so tightly my knuckles turned white. In my head, images of Emma and Mark came crashing in like a violent storm. Emma turning away, leaving her wedding ring on the table. Her cold text, "You deserve someone better than me." And now, Mark was here, carrying with him all the pain I hadn't yet healed from. Lily reached for my hand, her voice trembling. "Ryan, you don't have to open that door. You don't owe him a damn thing." I looked into her eyes, those same eyes that had once been filled with tears because of the man standing outside. "No, if I don't face him now, I'll stay a prisoner to my past forever." I turned the doorknob. The old hinges creaked as the door swung open. Mark stood there, tall, imposing. His tailored suit seemed to mock the modest, worn-down room behind me. His eyes were calm, but underneath, a sharpness lingered. "We need to talk," he said, his voice low and steady, like a hammer hitting steel. "About what?" I asked, my tone careful, holding back the storm inside me. Mark's gaze flicked past me, resting on Lily, standing silently behind. A flicker of something crossed his face. Surprise, regret. Then it was gone. About Emma. And about Lily. I stepped outside, shutting the door behind me. The night air cut against my skin, but it couldn't cool the fire rising in my chest. Mark exhaled, his eyes softening slightly. "I didn't come to apologize. Some things can't be fixed. But I came to tell you this. Emma left me." I froze. "Emma left him?" Mark gave a bitter, crooked smile. "Funny, isn't it? The woman who broke both of us turned out to be the one who couldn't keep anyone." He stepped closer, his voice dropping, eyes locked on mine. "She deserves to be loved, Ryan. Don't make her cry again." Each word felt like a hammer pounding straight into my chest. My fists clenched so hard my nails dug deep into my palms. I'm standing face to face with the man who once broke me. And this time, if I fall, I'll have nothing left to lose. The night wrapped around us. Two men. One who had taken everything from me. One still trying to piece himself back together. I stood face to face with Mark in the narrow hallway of the motel. The night wind hissed through the doorframe, cutting cold across my skin. But it was nothing compared to the chill in his eyes. Mark took a deep breath, his voice dropping low. "I know I've been a bastard. I wrecked your life, and I wrecked Lily's too. But I'm not here to take her back." My fists clenched tight, my heart pounding in my chest. A part of me wanted to swing, to land a punch square on his jaw, to release all the anger and hatred I'd carried for so long. But then Lily's face flashed in my mind, her tear-streaked eyes, the way her trembling hand brushed against mine that night. "If you love her, don't make her cry ever again." Mark's words echoed in my head like a haunting refrain. I drew in a deep breath, forcing the rage down. "You know something, Mark? I used to dream of this moment, meeting you again, just to make you pay for everything you did to me." My voice cracked, my eyes glinting under the dim hallway light. "But now, standing here in front of you, I don't see a monster. I only see a man as broken as I once was." Mark froze for a moment. You'd forgive me?" I shook my head, hot tears slipping down my cheeks. "I don't forgive you, but I choose to let go. Not because you deserve peace, but because I deserve to be free." Mark's face softened. A faint, weary smile broke across his lips. "You're a lucky man, Ryan, because you still have time to hold on to the one you love." His words struck me like a dull blade, twisting deep in my chest. I turned and stepped back into the room, closing the door behind me. The door didn't slam shut, but inside me, it felt like the sound of chains finally snapping. Lily was still there, her eyes glassy with tears. I walked to her and gently took her hand. "What did he want?" she asked softly. "To remind me that if I don't hold on to you, I'll lose everything," I whispered. My eyes locking with hers, we stood by the window. Outside, dawn began to break, pale sunlight spilling through the frosted glass. I watched Lily sleeping soundly after the long night, her steady breaths like a lullaby. Do I have the courage to love her completely? Or is my heart still trapped by the one who left? The screen fades to black. I never thought there'd come a day when I'd stand in front of the mirror, staring at the man looking back at me, and realize he's changed. That man, the Ryan I used to be, was someone who believed love could save everything. But it was love that dragged him to the deepest pit of despair. This morning, sunlight poured through the window, soft, golden, gentle. Lily was still sleeping. She lay on her side, her brown hair messy, her face so peaceful. It made me wonder, could I ever be the kind of man worthy of that peace? I still think of Emma. I won't lie. There's a part of my heart that aches faintly whenever someone says her name. But unlike before, that pain doesn't crush my chest anymore. It's quiet now, like an old scar etched into my skin, a reminder of what I've survived. I used to think forgiveness was impossible. I wanted Mark to pay for what he'd done. I kept asking why I wasn't enough for Emma to stay. But last night, standing face to face with Mark, I realized forgiveness isn't about whether they deserve it. It's about whether you deserve peace. Letting go doesn't erase the past, but it stops it from pulling you backward. I don't know where Lily and I will end up. She's a broken piece too, just like me. Maybe one day we'll hurt each other. But right now, I'm ready to take her hand and try again. I reached out, gently brushing her hair, whispering, I can't promise to heal you, but if you'll let me, I want to try piecing our broken parts together. Outside, waves crashed softly against the shore. A child ran past, laughter ringing in the air, bright and unburdened. I watched, and for the first time in months, I felt a quiet ease settling into my chest. Happiness isn't about forgetting what you've lost. It's about learning to love again, scars and all. I don't know what tomorrow holds, but for the first time in a long time, I feel alive. If you hadn't knocked on my door that night, maybe I'd still be sitting in the dark. Have you ever stood at the edge, choosing between loving again or running forever?